So it was really cool to record with you in person when you were here for your visit.
It was.
So I'm sure people have noticed that we are spliced.
Yes, we are split screen, baby.
So, this will kind of be, we're doing a hybrid, right? Hybrid of in person and...
Hey, this is the perks of living in today's day and age. You can be anywhere and you can still connect. And I love that. I love that piece.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this. Like, I've really enjoyed seeing you every day the last 3 days.
I know. It has been fun. It has been cool to be able to start this project with you and just kind of reconnect. And because we've always gone deeper.
Always.
I think that's why we wanted to start this.
Yeah, and I think it's something that's just always been very natural for us, which I love. And I think that there's just we've created such a safety, this emotional safety, this bubble. Especially coming from households where that bubble didn't exist. And I don't even think we even knew what it was. Maybe it was something that we craved. It's a part of the human experience. If you're lucky, you get to experience it. Handful of safe people to create that, but definitely something that I when I think about our relationship, I just kind of think well, that's always been here.
Yeah.
No matter what. Ever since gym class.
Well, I have to ask you a question.
Sure.
Why do we always need to be right?
Oh, why do we always need to be right? That's a great question. I think it's one with many answers, and some of which we are going to dive into today. I think off the top of my head, it's some form of validation. I got it right. I do know what I have to say is important. Pat me on the back. Maybe it's, depending on what kind of environment you grew up in, it was how you got your parents' approval. I'm the smartest kid. I figured it out. I got my parents' approval, which means that they love me.
Ooh, that's deep. That's going deep.
Diving right in.
Have you ever argued about something, then looked back and realized that really didn't matter? I know I'm guilty of that.
100%.
Sometimes you're... Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
And I guess in the moment, you don't stop and have that kind of awareness. Why am I... Because I am right. I am right. And sometimes you really are right. But, we, in preparing for this yesterday, we kind of gave some examples, and mine isn't as nearly deep and everything as yours. So I'll share my little kiddie one first. My granddaughter watches Bluey, and she, now I will say not all the time, because I'm a strict 20 minutes, that's it, but anyway, so she likes Bluey, and there's an episode where Bluey doesn't understand why Bingo, her little sister, isn't wanting to play with her. Well, what had happened was Bluey was right. And they had this little thing, and she's like, "Hi, I was right." And then Bluey disengaged and didn't want to play. So she's asking her mom, or Bingo didn't want to play. And she's, so she's asking her mom, "Why doesn't Bingo want to play?" And she's like, "Well, Bluey, do you want to play with Bingo, or do you want to be right?" And I'm just like, that's a really cool way for a little kid to, leave it to the Australians.
I know, they're so fun. They're so good.
There's their educational shows have a little bit more awareness level, I think, and a little bit more of that like curiosity that we talked about. Because I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm not some Bluey fanatic, that, but in the shows, the dad kind of refers to them growing up in the 80s. So I'm assuming that they're probably Gen Xers.
Gen X or elder millennial.
Yeah. So it would make sense where they're kind of instilling that curiosity that we talked about in our the first episode. Like, we've got 2 episodes already.
There's so many.
And so I know we talked about that growing up, the Gen X, we had that curiosity. So anyway, it was just, I thought they did a really good job about doing that. So that's my, because I'm in the world of a 17-month-old right now during the day.
Yeah. And children are so wise. I mean, they're so wise. I mean, like you're saying, like I was in the world of the 17-month-old, but like how much is she making you reflect and be curious yourself and open you up? And kids are really, really good at being present, being very honest about how they feel. Like, hey, you did this and I don't like how it made me feel. Like, it's not fair. My feelings are hurt. And, I wanted that too. Or whatever it is. And I feel like kids, because in the obvious ways we're, we have them and we have to teach them all this stuff. And we think we're the ones teaching them, but children are really teaching us. They're so wise.
Yes.
And most parents don't realize that. I know it took me a while with my own son, and I was like, wow, this kid is he's really teaching me a lot. Yeah. And he still does. He's 23 and he still teaches me a lot of stuff, and it's wonderful. I'm glad I could not get hung up on the being I'm the parent, I'm the older person. I what I say has to be right.
And that's what we had growing up. Like it was not just from our parents, it was from other adults. And I am like, I'm all about respect your elders, that type of thing, but still not to that extent that I think we were told to believe.
Yeah. Well, it kind of just shuts you down.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, so to one of the points that you had talked about, like 2 opposing things being true, like in our childhood, it was very much about, we really had to engage in our curiosity and figuring things out for ourselves. And at the same time, we were also very shut down and like, just be quiet, listen to what I say, and what I say is right. Don't think for yourself. But then we're like, don't, but do? Like, which one? But both of those things were very, very true growing up. And I almost feel like our parents, like my parents were both silent gen. They were born just like a couple, my mom was born in 43, my dad was born in 45. I think boomers are 46 to 65. And my parents were just very like, this is the way that you do it. There's only one way to do it. It's the way that we're telling you. And I'm like, okay. And so what that leads to is this very concrete thinking. And I always think of a square cinder block. Look, there's 2 squares in that, but it's a rectangle overall. And I mean, if there is another option, here's this huge barrier in between that you've got to figure out how to climb over and to get into. It's such a perfect metaphor for that mentality. And you're just kind of like, oh, okay. As a kid, well, this is what I have to deal with. All right, I guess this is the way that it's going to go. And, you figured it out. You made do with what you had. And then you're also fighting for your voice to be heard. I don't know about you, but you're the oldest. I'm the youngest in my family. I was the youngest of 4 kids growing up. And so my parents would be like, everybody's like, oh, you're always so loud. You always talk so much. I'm like, yeah, you dumbasses. I'm like, you guys never listened to me. And I had something to say.
Right. Well, I think this carries on into most people don't fight to protect facts. They fight to protect identity. So when somebody challenges our beliefs, our parenting, politics, religion, that type of thing, it can feel like they're challenging who we are. And so I think that the challenging their beliefs, that was really something that we didn't do in our household. You didn't question God, you didn't question what your parents said. And so, but this also, leads into why that feeling of, I didn't get an apology from my dad about the strict upbringing, the strict religious upbringing until I was in my 30s.
Wow.
I was in my 30s, and we just had this moment, and we were painting in a room and a house project he was helping me with, and he apologized. And that was huge for him to be able to do that, because it was admitting that he was wrong.
I think like the ego has a lot to do with that. Nobody wants to be wrong. The ego likes drama, and in a really odd way is kind of protective. Like I'm protecting this really immature, undeveloped part of me.
Ooh,
and
yeah.
And I look at it like I used to think that the ego was this really bad, going to destroy it. And I don't think of it. I don't think of it that way anymore.
Wait, a quick side note. So, okay, don't lose that, because that's so important. But I have to say this: in our last video I had, when we talked about ego, and you said it's not some like male macho thing. I had this like power, like muscle guy going like this, and I don't know if they thought it was like a naughty picture, but it got edited out. Unless it's somewhere else in the video, I don't know.
Really?
It got, anyway.
That's
I just thought that was kind of funny. Yeah, the ego. Yeah.
Yeah. But it comes in, and it's like, I think, growing up, I always heard about the macho, ego guy. And a lot of times I've realized, like, because, not everybody lives in my brain. But when I talk about ego, they're thinking of that. And I'm like, no. I'm like, this is different. This is, and I give credit to Eckhart Tolle. Reading his books really, really opened my mind to what ego really was and what it was doing. And, he would talk about how it pairs up with the pain body. And I was like, oh, it's literally like mind blown, people. Like, this is amazing. I was like, everybody should be reading all of his stuff. And
I agree.
I do too. He's amazing. And anyway, he was, just talking about how the ego gets in the way. And so I started, when I was getting into that and really recognizing my own, I was like, it's about always wanting to be right. Like, well, why do I always want to be right? Well, I kind of looked at my ego instead of, when I finally decided not to like banish her or anything. I was just like, oh, I actually should probably listen to you, not actually take your advice, but listen to why you want to be right.
Yeah.
What are you fighting for?
Ooh, what are you fighting for?
Yeah, what are you fighting for? Because she's fighting for something. And so upon my own, and, I will say everybody's ego is their own personal. So, yours might be different than mine, and probably is. But for me, I just sat there and looked at her, and I was like, wow, I'm like, you've been fighting to be seen and heard your entire life, amongst other things.
Yeah.
And so and two, how many times have I been right in my life and told that I was wrong because it was inconvenient to someone else because they didn't want to be wrong?
Ooh, that is, okay, say that again.
How many times in my life have I been right, but it was inconvenient to somebody else because they didn't want to be wrong? Because it hurt their ego.
I think that needs to be on another shirt. Like, don't be a dick, Jesus. And what was the other one? There's other one that we have.
I can't remember that one. We really need to write this down.
I think this one is a line worthy one too, because how true. it's like you almost want to be in a movie. And when they go back and you see the backstory and you find out everything that the protagonist is
going through.
And that didn't show. And like, those are the moments that maybe I feel like after we've left our little meat sacks here, we're going to go to the collective and realize and see and learn from. And I don't know, maybe that's just, but I do think that those moments that we never got to see, I think that those will be revealed to us later. What a powerful line that is. I think everybody can relate to that.
I think so too. And I just remember thinking about that. And then really what helped, and it still helps my ego because like she doesn't go away and I don't want her to go away. She actually does have some wisdom. It's not your typical wisdom, but it's there and she does have something to teach me. And so I kind of like worked to unblend myself from her and not be identified by her, but instead to say, okay, you're an important part of me. I'm not going to get rid of you. But there are times where I'm like, you are going to get me into trouble. And I literally, it's really funny because I'll kind of do this. I'll be like, okay, I'm like, you're going on the shelf. And there's just imaginary shelf wherever I go, along with my imaginary pause button, which we can talk about that another time. But I'm just like, no, I'm like, you're going on the shelf because you're going to get me in trouble. You're going to stay there. And then when this is over, like you can come back, but be quiet.
Yeah.
And I get why she does that because there's wound. I think like your ego kind of, is like the holder of wounds. She's there for a reason. She's not bad, but things happen. Like, I think one of the biggest things for me in my own life, in my own journey is realizing how important being taken seriously and being respected is, because I grew up not having that at all. Like patted on the head. Oh, there's little Carmen. Just pat her on the head. Just
pacified.
Yeah. And just very, very dismissed, like I didn't have anything to offer. And I kind of laugh too, because in my family, and culturally speaking, we're on my, this is more on my dad's side, but it is our side too of the family, is that they won't take my profession seriously. They'll go to an MD for antidepressants and anti-anxiety, but they won't talk about what actually bothers them. Because it's, are you going to
share what your other side is? Obviously, we are. My side is probably. Well, I guess there is a lot of Scotch and English.
Scotch, English, and I actually just found out from my auntie that we have Swiss. Oh, my other half is Italian American.
Are you serious?
Right.
You don't look it.
No, not at all. But so mental health is just, and a lot, I have clients from all over the spectrum of diversity. And at the end of the day, it's really hard to talk about what's bothering you because you have to be vulnerable. And I really think that's, and you don't want to be viewed negatively because, vulnerability is really hard to deal with. But it's necessary. And I think too, it's another thing that the ego does and being right does is it blocks out the vulnerability. So then you don't have to feel uncomfortable in that way. I'm going to puff myself up, and whether you're physically doing it or emotionally, and I'm not going to let you get in here. And even though if I did that, we would make a connection and might actually get somewhere. And I'm going to black you out because this is super uncomfortable and I don't like it and it hurts. And so that looks a lot of different ways. Stonewalling, it looks like that dismissive avoidance. It looks like, shutting down. It looks like fawning. It looks like a lot of different things. And I'm sure anybody who has a pulse and has been in a relationship can relate to this, Yeah.
So there's another aspect. So yeah, we talked about ego, but there is also something that I believe is very much pushing this I have to be right, and that is social media.
What?
I don't know.
Shocking.
I mean, algorithms reward this outrage, this confidence,
Oh, yeah, you're
and
feeding
this
the beast.
certainty. And, the quick opinions, and I believe that is also why there's so much divisiveness. But really, I mean, social media has been, and the algorithms, they do reward this quick opinion, and then feeding you opinions that are alike. What you think, it reinforces it. So it sends in your feed things that you are aligned with. And so then that just gives you more confidence and more, I'm right, and I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. And, it doesn't reward the nuance. It doesn't reward changing your mind. And I think that I have seen probably only maybe a handful of videos are something that says, you know what? I changed I was wrong. I was wrong. And whenever I see that, I always stop and watch them. And granted, maybe some of them now they'll become AI, AI bots for, whatever. But like the genuine confession of, you know what? I was wrong. I let ego run this. I let my pride get in the way of digging and finding more information, and I'm wrong. So I don't know. Do you see very many of those?
Not really. I'm trying to actually, as you're talking about it, I was trying to think, I'm like, have I seen that at all? And
a handful I've seen.
I've seen them in jest, like making fun of something, like, I changed my mind, but not really.
Okay.
I have, I guess there was this one, so one of my, whatever dirty pleasures is, am I the assholes? And like, just like a topic, and then everybody comment on the topic, And so one of them was, the topic was, tell me when you realize that, what is it? The red pill, like you've been red pilled for all the guys out there. And so the fellas got on there, and in the comments, they were all talking about what it made them come out of it and realize that was wrong. And I think I saw that last week, and that's the only one that I can think of off the top of my head. And it was just these guys where it just kind of like went off on their head, like the light bulb went off, and it was like, hey, like this, like we really have been bamboozled here. And
well, I didn't even know what the red pill was. And I was talking to my daughter because she keeps trying to get me to watch Love Island. Okay,
oh my gosh.
I do love me some drama. I have a guilty pleasure also of the Beverly Hills Housewives, also the Salt Lake, but damn, they have got so much drama that it's almost like too fucking much. I'm just like, damn.
I can only handle so much. I'm like, I can't watch.
And then like this season, there were some comments made, and especially since everybody seems to be struggling a little bit financially right now. And I love, God damn it, now can't remember her name. She just was on this season as one of the main housewives. And she said they were on this European trip. And she said,
I have this thing when I'm in Europe that money's not real.
And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, and they're all like spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in each of these shops. And it kind of made me sick to my stomach. I'm not going to lie. If you make that comment, you are so out of touch with a normal person,
with reality,
that I don't even want to participate in this anymore. So anyway, she's like, you would really like Love Island. But she was telling me about some of the current episodes, and they talk about the red pill. And I was like, what do you mean the red pill? I had no idea what it meant. So maybe if we could, because I know there's other people going to be on here who are like, what is the red pill?
Yeah. Well,
could you share, just like give a little bit? I mean,
yeah. It's interesting because I follow and watch 60 Minutes Australia. I think it's just for the accent. And I like 60 Minutes and those types of docuseries shows. Anyway, but they were talking about like, you know, the Andrew Tates of the world, and so it's just basically, I know it's gross vomit, and just this male perspective that women are subordinate to men, that we are supposed to be there to basically service them sexually, have their children, feed them, cook, clean, and be, you know, like that traditional wife with no voice. And and that women, like all women, were just gold diggers and trash. And I'm just like, I look at him and I was just like, bro, I was like, who didn't love you enough? Because it's like screaming. Like I can't, I don't hate him by any means, but when I look at him and I hear him speak, I just look at him and I was like, somebody did not love you enough. You are a very, very, very sensitive little boy on the inside, and you are just really, really hurt. And I also think that you do need some real consequences for your behavior. So there's that. And I think you might like that. Anyway, but seriously though, it's just he's a very, very, very sad man, and making millions of dollars off of trashing women and promoting this lifestyle. And our young men are watching it. A lot of them are, and thinking that it's okay, and it's just not. He's another one. Like I guarantee you, Andrew Tate will argue these points and to his favor and manipulate that situation. And anybody can do that. But it's kind of like, do you want to manipulate the situation to be right, or do you want to be in a relationship with someone? And I don't just mean like a romantic relationship. This could be familial, professional, friendships, what have you. Do you want to be in relationship with people? Because no matter how introverted you are, we need each other. There's no way around that. There's no amount of social media. There's no amount of AI that will ever do away with the fact that we need each other. Period. So once you accept that, I guess, okay, we need each other. How do I want to show up in those relationships? Because if you are in relation with another person, it means that they're going to say things that you don't like or you don't want to hear. And I think the curious, open-minded perspective to have in that is not to say, here's why you're wrong, but to say, well, why did that hit me like that? Why did that trigger something? Triggers should never be ignored. They should be explored. That rhymed.
That was good.
Thank you. I just came up with that. But they absolutely should be explored. So you have to ask the question, you know, like, do I want to be in a relationship with somebody, or do I want to be right? And so anytime I take on like a new couple to, you know, go into therapy with, it's probably the first thing, and the thing that I say quite a bit is like, you can either be right or you can be in a relationship.
So that's a cost of always being right. You know, like relationships, trust, you know, learning and our peace, I think. You know, I wish that we would ask those types of questions, not, well, in the heat of the moment, you know, too, and take a cleansing breath and say, okay.
It actually kind of reminds me of this guy. So remember when, what was it, Mount St. Helens erupted back in the early 80s? We were little. We were really little.
Yes, I watched a documentary about that last year.
Okay.
Stuff I had remember a little bit, but
yeah,
it was good to watch.
So I remember I listened to this other guy. His name is Mr. Ballin. I love him. Strange, dark, and mysterious. I love this guy. This is not a paid advertisement for him. But I love listening to his stories. And anyway, and so he was talking about this guy, and I can't remember his name. He was an old fella, had lived in that area for quite some time, and he was just convinced that he was right. He wasn't leaving. And him and his cats, he had a bunch of cats, and they were all staying at his house, and the government was not going to tell him to leave. He was going to show
golly.
them. By golly. And what happened was they came out and they kept trying to get him to evacuate, and he refused to do it because he was not going to listen. He was right. This is my land, and I don't have to leave it. I get to stay here. And I was like, well, technically, you're absolutely right. It is your land. You do get to stay here, but we're trying to evacuate you because you're going to die. And guess what happened? He died. He died. He died. He died to be right. Him and all his cats, they all died. The volcano erupted. He got covered with it. He is no more. And I'm like, you think about that. I was like, there's an ego for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kind of falls into where was that? Can two opposing ideas both have truth?
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. I mean, it was his land, and he had every right to stay. But when you start going into that narrative of you're digging in and you are not going to let anybody tell you what to do, like your truth then becomes toxic.
Yeah.
Or maybe not toxic, but I mean, it can kill you,
It did, yeah.
And so like it can be there can be truth, but it is there again, what we talked about at the very beginning is that, bringing circumstances, bringing, all of that together to make a sound judgment. And then asking yourself, okay, I can be right, but okay, maybe I should leave.
Yeah, maybe I should leave. I don't want to get killed by the volcano erupting. And sometimes some of these situations is similar to like a volcano erupting. Like you're fighting so hard.
Yeah.
And anger can really cloud judgment. I think that's something to be really aware of. Like, what does it look like when you fight? How do you respond to it? I remember I dated this guy once, and I asked him what his fighting style was like. I really liked him, and I'm sorry, I can never get through the story without laughing. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, I don't fight. He goes, I never fight. I don't let any unnecessary negativity into my life. And he goes, if we end up in a fight, it's going to be because you started it, because I'll never fight with you. And I was just like, oh my God. I was like, honey, your ego is ginormous.
Yeah. I mean, might as well have some flashing neon light being like, ego, bigger. Yeah.
He was also a person that told me, he's like, well, I'm the most humble person you'll ever meet. And I was like, if you have to say that you're humble, it means you're not. My response to that was, a lion and lioness never announce themselves. They just are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That is true.
And humility is something that you work at. It's a daily practice.
Oh gosh, it is. It is. And it takes a breath, and it takes a step back, and to honestly look at yourself. And that is hard sometimes.
It is. It is.
So I have a question for you. Are you ready?
I don't know.
When was the last time someone changed your mind?
The last time.
And then here's a second to that. What made you listen? What made you willing to listen?
Okay, so maybe this wasn't the last time, but it's the time that stands out most profoundly in my life.
Mhm.
And so with our upbringing, we were really raised in the mentality that being gay is wrong. Okay.
Definitely.
So this rewind, we're going to go back about 14, 15-ish years.
Okay.
And so
Time warp.
It's a time warp. It's a time warp weekend. Okay. So many funny things just went through my brain. Anyway, so we have we're back 15 years. I am going through or just post divorce. My life was really turned upside down. And the person that I turned to the most was our minister or Methodist pastor. And he and his wife were literally two of my favorite people. I was still very, very much into the Christian religion. And, but I was, this is one of the things that was kind of like helping me shed some of those really rigid mentalities that we were taught. They were actually moving. He and his wife were moving, and, I was helping them pack some stuff up, and we were sitting there and we were talking, and, you know, he said to me, he goes, who a person loves is a drop in the bucket to who they are as a human being. Thought about that, and I was like, okay. And then, you know, I also found out that he had a brother who was gay and a sister who was gay. And
no way.
And I was just like, wow. And I think at that point, I think I had been internally fighting with myself, going, but I've been taught that it's wrong for so long versus some of the best people I know are gay. Show up, they're kind, they're good people. I'm was having a really hard time finding a problem with them, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I just sat there and I thought about it, and he's like, who a person loves is a drop in the bucket. And obviously that's within the parameters of everybody is fully consenting, soberly consenting. There's been no coercion, and everybody's of age, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, and that's a stipulation for all humans. And, I just sat there and I thought about it, and I was like, and it was almost like I just was like carrying these really heavy buckets full of water over this rocky terrain. And I just got to set them down, and I was like, I never have to pick that up again. I was like, it was such a relief. It was such a relief. I was like, I am so glad that I am no longer weighed down by these ridiculous expectations to hate or to be against and condemn a group of people just because they love differently than I do.
Yep.
I'm just like, I don't have time. I have bigger things to deal with, like dealing with an awful ex-husband, figuring out how I was going to pay my bills. And I was like, I have got bigger things to deal with. I do not need to sit there and tell you how to live your life. I mean, it would piss me off if you did that. I would tell you to fuck off if you were which I had done that with a couple of people. But I got a little spicy there. But yeah, that really is the one that stands out the most about someone impacting me and me changing my mind about it. Finally, just setting that down and going, I don't need to carry this weight. It was never mine to carry in the first place. And it really just gave me permission to love, which I'm really good at. I'm really good at loving people just as they are. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things about myself. And I'm just like, this is great. This is absolutely wonderful. And,
I think also you having that, it would have been different if he would have made you feel like you felt open enough and safe enough from that person.
Absolutely.
From the minister, to ask to go to him and listen and have that openness to change your mind. I mean, it's like that makes it a big difference.
It was safe. Absolutely.
Yes.
There wasn't anybody trying to, to project their power and enforce that power over me by being right and making me feel like I was this big. And it was very like just open and kind and like a debate. Argue, like the word argue, we think of it as fighting nowadays, but the Greeks, were like, no, you want an argument. It's actually a debate. And it's not to, have a winner. It's to find out what's true, what's real, what's relevant. And it's fact finding. And I'm just like, oh, I really like that. So that's the kind of thing. It was like it was an open forum to have our conversations and to talk about it and to share. And I've, further gone on, and you meet the right people, you have the right conversation. What happens when you open yourself up to just finding out what's real and experiencing the goodness of people just based off of them as people.
Well, and I think people change because of safety, not pressure, Absolutely. And so there's so much of that on social media that they're just yelling at you. They're just, and no one is going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah. If you're
Nobody
calling
wants
somebody
to be yelled at.
Yeah. If you're calling somebody a piece of shit for being anti-gay, to tell you right now, all you're doing is solidifying their stance and being anti-gay. That's all you're doing. You will not get anywhere with them. You will not get anywhere with them. And I'm just like, like these people made a safe space for me. They talked to me openly about their experiences. And what was really, for me at the time, very impactful was that these were Christians. These were, and they were, I want to say 50s, 60s or something like that, later 50s, 60s. And I'm just sitting there going, wow. I'm like, I trust you because I do. I still trust them today. I would love to see them. Come on over for dinner, guys. But they're, they were just trusted, safe people and place where I could be vulnerable. There's that word again. And I could share my concerns. I could ask questions without feeling like an idiot, without feeling like I was going to get yelled at and treated badly. And here we are. And it's one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And this is coming from someone who was wrong. I was wrong.
Oh, I love it. We need more people to be able just to admit that and say that out loud. Yeah. And I've had to apologize to my children. I shouldn't say like apologize in the fact of like I did something wrong, because I truly believe that when I was bringing the kids up and I was in my Christian walk, I was doing what I thought was best for them. I did send them something and I said, you know what? I was wrong. I brought you up this way and I didn't give you space enough to explore. And I feel like maybe it caused you not to grow as much, in the areas that you could have thrived. Okay, so let's do a little game.
Okay. This is new. We did not talk about this before recording.
Well, a little bit, but I mean, do you remember, like, okay, I never played Spin the Bottle. I was
Me neither.
Okay, I wasn't. I remember hearing about other people in our grade or whatever.
And I've seen it on TV.
So much I feel like I've been sheltered. We have these sheltered lives a little bit. But so this is kind of like, but would you rather be right? Say that you're unloading the dishwasher with your son and you see him put something back in the wrong cupboard that doesn't go there. Would you rather be right, or would you rather just kind of be silent and like, what would you do in that situation?
What would I do that in that situation? Well, I wouldn't yell. I wouldn't get upset at him about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I think if I put myself in that position, being the kid putting it in the wrong place, I feel like I would get yelled at. And so, number one, I wouldn't do that. Period.
Yep. Would you just let it go and maybe put it away later?
I have done that in the past, but I might actually say, "Hey, honey," I'm like, actually, that goes over here with the stuff that's correlated with it. Like, I don't know, like measuring cups go with measuring cups.
Right.
You know, and then like, you know, I just wouldn't be a deal. It would just be like, or if he put it away and like, you know, I found it later, I'd move it back to its right spot. I guess it just doesn't sound like it's worth getting upset about.
Well, I mean, to some people, these types of situations are.
Yes, they are.
It is like, seriously, I remember, well, this kind of is not myself. Would you rather be right? But my daughter was talking about how cleaning, like, oh, she's gonna, you know, about what the kids that she has, you know, and cleaning. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, you're going to be so glad that they're actually willing to help. That you're not going to be like, oh, you need to use this cleaner or this scrubber or this, you know, like you're going to take anything. And I just am like, this is another thing. It's like, okay, would you rather be right? Or would you rather want the help and admire and thank them for putting forth the effort of that? I'll give you a would you rather be right example. I was talking to my husband the other day, and I specifically remember a conversation. And granted, I don't remember some conversations, but this one was particularly, I remembered it. Like, this is how it went. And he's telling me this back, and I'm just thinking to myself, oh, that's not how it went. And you know what? I didn't say nothing. I just said, oh, okay, well, I must have remembered it differently.
That's valid. That's absolutely valid. Because sometimes,
you know, at that moment, I was like, eh.
It's like you kind of weigh it. Like, is it really worth all of my time and energy to get mad at this?
Yeah.
Is it really worth it? Like, if it's something that would repeatedly come up, which I had a friend situation like that, and it would repeatedly come up. And I just finally was just like, and we were in public. It just like, and this is something that she would do. We would be around other people, and she would use me as an example of kind of like what not to do. And I was just kind of like, the first time it happened, I just kind of laughed it off, and I, you know, didn't make a big deal. The second time, kind of the same response, because I was like, oh, this is my friend and I care about her. And maybe she just doesn't remember things the same way that I do. Which clearly that was true. But the third time it happened, I was like, no, this is a habit. Like, this is, I'm signing off on this by not saying anything, which it moved into a different arena at that point. And then I just remember looking at her, and we were on the beach in San Diego on Coronado Island. And I just looked at her, I go, that's not how that happened. And it was just like that. And then it was a bit of an awkward silence. And then later on, not during that interaction, but later on, when she and I were alone, we were able to discuss it. And I'm like, this is what I remember. And I go, I believe you that you remember that. I said, however, it's inappropriate to use me as an example in public to people that I'm introducing. These were my friends. I'm like, I've introduced you to these people. I'm like, that's an inappropriate thing for you to do. And it's not the first time that you did it. And so that was a conversation. It wasn't really, you know, necessarily about being right or wrong. It was like, your behavior is hurtful. And I can't let you keep doing this.
I think it's important that you bring that up, because I don't want anyone to think that we're saying to be passive this is toxic or this is a dysfunctional type of thing. It needs to be identified and changed and that type of thing.
I think you have to look at patterns of behavior. And I think a lot of us, we like to avoid fighting altogether. And it's uncomfortable. It gets messy. Things get said that it's hurtful. And sometimes it's necessary. I just like to say, like when I told you about the boyfriend who said he would never fight. I'm like, my thought was like, have you met people?
Have you met?
They're everywhere.
Have you met people?
Have you met people? I'm like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But it's good because, at the end of the day, which I myself really love, I call it the circle back around. So after you have the initial argument, fight, whatever, because sometimes it is inevitable that you are going to have conflict. You have to learn how to resolve the conflict. And part of that is the conversation, the circle back around conversation. Back and you reflect on, hey, this is how I was feeling. This is what I heard when you said this or when you did this or whatever it is. And then I can see that it impacted you. Let's talk about that, whatever. And there's just so much good feedback that can happen from that. And realistically, if somebody's doing something and you can see this pattern going on, you have to call attention to it. You can't just sit back and let it go. You have to, I would say this is where curiosity would be really helpful. Like, hey, help me understand. Help me understand why this keeps happening. And how can we shift this because it's having a negative effect on me. And I mean, granted, I know I'm saying this kind of, generically because those conversations don't actually happen quite so scripted, but you get the gist of like, hey, we have to talk about this. I care about you. And so there's two things that the other things that I say to people and to myself and what I exercise in my own relationships is you have boundaries with every single relationship that you want to keep. And you have hard conversations with every single relationship that you want to keep. Because those hard conversations will help you to create closeness. You have to be vulnerable in them, and it creates cohesiveness, a better understanding paired with compassion for the people that are in your lives.
That's powerful. And that's good advice. I think that is probably a good end note for this episode.
Bravo.
And until next time.
Yes. Thank you all for joining us. We love you. Mwah.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe.
Please do.
And leave comments. We had our first comment, and thank you to whoever who did that. We appreciate that. And feedback is great. And we're just trying to share what we've learned on this journey of life with others.
Yeah. So. Thanks for coming.